Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. This is Tamika's Den. I am Tamika. Get on in here, y'all. Get on in here. Kick off your shoes and relax your feet. You are now in the den. So, guys, this is my review recap for The Oval, okay? Back again with Tyler Perry's The Oval, The Point of No Return, Season 4, Episode 20. Child, listen, Alfonso out here wasting a whole bunch of time playing back and forth with Dagon. Dale trying to scare him and tell him that he gonna arrest him only for him to steal these drugs. Priscilla's going over to check and see what's going on with Miss Nancy, and Miss Nancy is bugging the heck out, running up and down these daggone stairs. She's saying, I said what I said, Barry is dead. Richard done had it, okay? He tired of waiting on Dagon Sam. He want to go see what's going on. Sharon in here fighting for her life against Kareem. And, you know what I'm saying, VP wife is still telling him that, Miss Victoria's coming at him and he don't see when a woman is trying to flirt with him and want to get him in bed. Little do she know they've been in bed probably before she was even thought of, child. Bobby still think he meeting up with Priscilla, honey. He says Bobby needs some ass, all right, according to him. And Hunter is just trying to sniff up this damn cocoa, okay? He's in love with the cocoa, y'all. That's all he cares about. Everything else is basically out the window. Let's go ahead and get into this episode and break it on down. Take it from the top. You know how we do. So, y'all, like I said, Alonso was just basically wasting time with this whole scene. He's going back and forth talking about he gonna arrest him. Oh, you was trying to sell me drugs. Dale is saying, no, I wasn't. He's like, look, I don't know what's going on. This is a misunderstanding. I had nothing to do with this. I just work here, all right? And so Alonso's like, oh, so is your boss that's been trying to sell me drugs? He's like, no, I'm not saying that either. I don't know. I just know I'm not the one that put them there. He starts asking what his last name is, and he tells him Morrison. And he's like, what can I do, you know what I'm saying, to make this situation right? Because I cannot go to jail. He's telling him to confess. So he go ahead and walk him in this back room, and he's like, you feel that? Do you know what that is? Yes, that's a gun. Count to 100, okay? So he's like, okay. He was like, do not turn around until you get to 100. Okay, go. And so, of course, Dale is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And Alonso quickly, or slowly backs out, child. Just to go ahead and end up stealing the daggone stuff. You could have just told him you was taking it to begin with, Alonso, instead of going through that whole song and dance. But nonetheless, I digress. We shall move right along. So, moving on from there, we basically had Priscilla get there and she's asking what's going on, and Richard lets her know they drugged her. And she was like, drug Nancy? She like, what are you talking about? What? Oh my God. He's like, yeah, she went to the daggone compound with them crazy ass Radushi, Rakashi, Rakushi, whatever the heck they names is, y'all. And, she's like, are you kidding me? Why did she go there? Oh, well, she thought that Barry was there. And they gave her this high doses, so she's still kind of out of it, still talking crazy, saying all kind of crazy things. She basically said that Barry is dead. And she's like, what? And she was like, and still no word from Barry? And he's like, no, that's not like him. And she's like, oh, God, poor, Barry. And he's over here talking about don't say that. Of course, Richard really don't want to believe it, even though the leader has already told him that Barry's up out of here. He killed him. So, he's telling her that the doctor said it could be a couple of days, or really he said a few hours, but I remember the doctor saying a couple of days, okay, before it's out of her system. And this could mess her up permanently mentally, right? We really don't know. So we just have to keep watching her and observing her. And Priscilla's like, what? Are you serious? Like, oh my God. So then he's asking if Sam is still at the White House. And she says, yeah. And he says, okay, he's going to go, and head out. And he says he want to get over there, to them. And she was like, Richard, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Tell me what you're going to do. Right now, he's saying he going to go talk to, Sam. And she's like, you better not go to that compound. He says he's not. And she was like, give me your word. He's like, Priscilla, I'm not. All right. And she's like, okay, don't you do nothing stupid. So he goes in to bring her into Nancy, and he's letting Nancy know that he's going to be getting ready to leave. Child, this part had me cracking up. I said, please, God, forgive me, because I know it wasn't supposed to make me laugh. And this lady that plays Nancy be acting her behind off, baby, because one minute she smiling, next minute she crying, next minute she laughing, next minute she running. He tell her he getting ready to go, and she's like, okay, do you want some breakfast? He's like, no, baby, it's evening time. She's over here. Okay, fine, Richard, get out of here then. I ain't gonna keep arguing with you. So he looking like, what are you talking about? Ain't nobody been arguing with you. So he's like, well, anyway, Priscilla gonna stay here with you. She says, okay, all right. That's fine. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and go where you going. He's like, I'm gonna be back. She said, well, did you tell her that Barry is dead? He's like, Nancy, stop saying that, okay? Why are you saying that? He's like, yeah, I did, but you know what I'm saying? Don't worry about it, and I'm gonna be back in a few, right? I'm gonna be back in a few hours. Excuse me. So she's like, okay. Now, of course, he's looking up at Priscilla, and Priscilla's looking really scared and worried or whatever, and she's rubbing him on his back while he's rubbing Nancy on her back. So, he says to Priscilla, call me if you need anything, and she's like, I will. So then she go ahead and sit down with Nancy, trying to be as delicate as she could possibly be. She's rubbing her back, she's holding her hands, she's letting her know that she's there. She's like, hi, Nancy. Nancy's like, hi. And she was like, how are you doing? She was like, I'm feeling good. And so Priscilla's like, oh, good. I'm glad you're feeling good. You know what I'm saying? That's good to hear. She was like, did he tell you that Barry's dead? So she's like, well, what makes you say that? She was like, I could feel it. She said, you can? She said, yeah. She said, that's my boy. Priscilla says, I know. Yes, it is your boy. So she's basically like, oh, you know that I saw the leader. I met the leader. And Priscilla's like, you did? She was like, yeah, he cured me of my asthma. Okay. I don't got asthma no more. She like, really? He did? Oh, that's good. She's like, yeah, I could run up and down the stairs now when I don't lose my breath. She's like, for real? She's like, yeah, you want to see it? So Priscilla's telling her, no, that's okay. She don't have to see it. And she's also trying to offer Priscilla breakfast. And Priscilla's saying, no, I'm good. I already ate or whatever the case may be, right? No, I'm okay. Don't worry about it. I'm okay. So child, Nancy gets a freaking running up and down these stairs anyway, even though she telling her not to, right? I said, child, what is going on here? Baby, the way she was running up and down, you see me? I'm good now, whatever, right? And it killed me how she was whispering in her ear, like, I'm at the highest, right? The same way she was whispering in Sharon's ear when Sharon was there. And so she's steadily telling her, come on, Nancy, come back here. You ain't got to do all of that. It's okay. I see. You know what I'm saying? That's great. That's good. I'm glad that you are feeling better and you able to run up and down the stairs. But come on back here and sit with me. And Nancy keep going, hold on. Look, see, watch me. And she going, Nancy, come on, sit back down. She's laughing. Ha, 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 ha. No, I don't want to sit down. And she's like, Nancy, come on, sit back down. So, you're doing so good, but come sit back down. And she's like, you see, I'm not out of breath, child. I said, what the heck is this Tyler Perry? All right, I don't know if we supposed to be serious right now or we supposed to be a comedy because, child, I was cracking up, all right? So, she even was like, I'll have some breakfast or whatever the case may be. And she's like, oh, God. And Priscilla's basically like, I didn't know what I was coming into when I wasn't signing up for this, okay? Her mouth wide open. So Richard gets to the White House and he tells Sam he needs to talk to him to step outside with him for a minute. Come outside. He ain't trying to have this conversation inside where people could hear them. And when they get outside, Richard is like, what's going on? And finally he gets to tell him, they done took Nancy to the damn compound, okay? And the highest told me that he killed Barry. Sam talking about something. Do you believe him? Yes, Sam, we all believe him. Apparently, everybody else believes him but you. And he's telling him that Nancy is high as the sky. She's out of her mind. They drugged her. He was like, what exactly are you doing at this point? My family's been compromised. They're in danger. I haven't heard from Barry. That's not like him. So if they didn't kill him, then where is he? Sam keeps saying he's sorry. He like, I don't want your sorry. I want your damn help. And he's basically like, well, I don't know where Barry is, but I know that he's not there. He's saying that they got these inside men, the informant that's there, and they got the FBI on it. So Richard has to be patient. And he was like, man, this is bullshit. I'm saying that's some real bullshit, okay? I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of depending on this. And so Richard is saying he's going in, and Sam is telling him, if you go in, you're going to cost a whole lot of people their lives. They will basically kill everybody that's in there, right? Excuse me, y'all. And so basically, he was like, I need you to do something, shit. And I could understand Richard's frustration because remember, Sam was all busy, tied up into this whole Jason situation. Then he was busy, tied up, worried about whether Priscilla was going to go screw Bobby or not. And he was not getting back to Richard. So now it's done boiled up and the situation done got worse because this was before Nancy even got a chance to go to the damn compound. It's like, how long we gonna keep getting, you know what I'm saying, letting these people get away with this? Even Priscilla was like, nah, this gotta end. These people gotta be stopped, right? So anyway, he leaves and he basically ends up telling Sam, F you, F you, F you, okay? Now, in the meantime, Alonso comes in to give Alan or to tell Alan that he got it right and say thank you or whatever. And Alan is like, oh, you got it good. You know what I'm saying? That's beautiful, straight. Why was Alonso acting so weird in this scene? I didn't know if he was supposed to be acting that way, child, or not. But he seemed like he was being extra weird. He kept looking goofy and smiling at damn Alan or whatever. And he's basically like, oh, okay, so everything worked out. And then he asked Alan, like, who was that guy? And then Alan is like, what guy? Who you talking about? And he's like, oh, the drug dealer. He's like, I don't know. And then Alan is like, Alonzo says, you sure? Once Alan says he don't know, he was like, yeah, it's a real nice operation. And looking at him like that. And Alan is like, is it? And he was like, yeah, it was. Don't act like you don't know. And so Alan is like, I'm not acting. I don't know. He was like, he runs it out of the pharmacy and I've never been there before. And so he's like, oh, okay, all right, all right. But he still had this like funny look on his face, right? And he was like, so you gonna give it to him or whatever? And he says, yeah. So he was like, well, which one? And again, Alonzo was like, what do you mean? And he's like, Alonzo, the names, you have to give him one specific one that says Jacob Stalwart. And he was like, okay, that's the one. And he's like, no, I'm serious. He was like, I got it. I'm serious too. And he just kept making these stupid faces. He was like, you got it? He says, okay, thanks, cool. So he was like, well, I'm also sorry about the way he talked to you, all right? This is Alonzo saying this to Alan again, apologizing for what Hunter said to him earlier. And he's like, yeah, don't worry about that. That's not your fault. I'm not worried about it. And then Alonzo goes, all right, let's talk to you later. So he's like, all right, cool. So he go ahead and when he's walking out, Alonzo's like, be careful. And you know what I'm saying, with that daggone punk president. And he's like, I will, I will. And he goes. So I was like, I don't know, but that just was a weird scene. Anyway, moving on from there, he gets a call right after Alan from from Antonio saying, yo, everything is straight, you got it. And he's like, yeah, what's up? He was like, well, the stuff I gave you is real strong shit, so be careful, okay? You can't play around with it and it could kill you. And he was like, I'm telling you. And he's like, all right, man, I got the message. So Antonio is basically like, okay. He was like, we all good? He was like, yeah. So he says later, and Ellen is like, bye, shit already, you know, like irritated that he called him back again to tell him that. So then we see him, Bobby and Kyle standing in the Bobby and Max standing in the hallway. You know, he getting a phone call and he talking about, damn, man, how long he gonna be in there? You know, and Max is like, hell if I know. So he's like, damn, can't you just cover for me or whatever? I gotta go. And he was like, you know, I'm going to meet her. So he's like, hell no, you asking for trouble. He was like, nah, I can't cover you. You're going to have to stand here and wait just like I am. You know, if you're mad with Lily, why don't you go talk to her? Of course, he gets mad again and telling him to stop saying that. And he was like, well, why the hell, you know what I'm saying, would you leave? You know all the stuff that's going on in this place. So, you know what I'm saying, we need you here. And he's like, oh, you got it covered. He's like, no, I don't. So he's like, fine. He's like, yeah, fine. So he was like, well, if you think you keeping me away from something, you not. And Max is basically like, I'm trying to save your life, you know what I'm saying, before you get killed. And he talking about something I wish Sam would. So he is like, come on, man, why the hell are you doing all this? He was like, you know what? I think maybe you should be the one in the boxing ring. So he's like, oh, so you forgive Cal already? And you ain't got no beef with him no more? You not mad at him no more? And Max is like, no, his day is still coming. He was like, so why are you telling me about boxing? He was like, because at least that's an outlet for you to release stress. He talking about some Bobby don't need to release stress and Bobby don't need to get in the ring with another man. What Bobby need, you know, he got to do that third person shit is a woman, and what Bobby need is to get some ass. He just keeps saying that over and over and over. And so the daggone vice president ends up walking out and standing behind him and saying, well, let's let you get home so you could go get your some ass. Okay, you could go ahead and get that ass. And then Bobby clears his throat and is basically like, I apologize, sir. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, no, I get it. You know, y'all have lives outside of here, whatever the case may be. And you know, let's get you home so you could get that ass, sir. They over here talking about we fine. He says, well, I'm wrapped up here, so come on, right? And so of course Bobby was super embarrassed about that. But I said, Bobby, you ain't about to get nothing now unless y'all gonna get it on at Nancy house. So, you know, moving on from there, we basically had you know, the first lady, Victoria, behind walking in looking for Donald. But of course, Donald ain't there. He went home. I don't know why she thought he was lying. He told her right to his, you know, her face that he was going home. So when she go in there, it's only Alan in there. And she's like, I told him not to leave or whatever the case may be. And then, you know, Alan is like, do you want me to call him? And she's like, no, what are you going to do that for? And he was like, well, I'm only trying to help. She was like, well, the real help would have been if you would have just killed my husband. Of course, Alan talking about some, no, ma'am, I could never do that. And she's basically like, yes, you could. All right. If you really wanted to. And so then Cal comes in looking for him right behind her. And of course, he's not there. And she's basically like, what is it? What's going on? And he was like, ma'am, you know, top secret business or whatever. I wanted to tell him about something important. And she's like, well, you could tell me. I don't want to hear that shit. Let's talk. So she tells Alan to step out for a minute and close the door behind him. And he's like, yes, ma'am, you know, sir, to Cal or whatever. And he got ahead and he walk out and close the door. And every time Alan walk out the door, I always be saying, is he listening? Because Alan really do seem like he be falling for the okie doke with this whole mess that Donald told him. And I'm trying to understand why he's falling for the okie doke all of a sudden now with it. And Alonso's the one that's believing that these people were full of crap, right? The only one that he probably still actually feels vengeful to or whatever, or feels like is a problem is the president. But needless to say, anyway, moving on from that, Cal and her begin to have this conversation where he's still telling her, I have to speak to Donald. I have to let him know what's going on. He was like, it's a possibility that we have found him. Of course, talking about Jason. And she's like, where? And he tells her in Virginia. So she's like, okay, how long before we could confirm and know for sure? And he's like, ma'am, I'm going to have to speak to Donald about that. So she's like, okay, well, go ahead and get him on the phone. He's like, ma'am, this is not a conversation that we could have over the phone. Excuse me, y'all. It's not a conversation we can have over the phone. I have to go see him in person. So of course this annoys her, but she's basically like, just go ahead. She's like, you know, is the president back in? And he says, yeah. So now she's on her way to go to his office. But of course, Alonso is on his way there with the stuff. And as soon as Alonso sticks his head in, he's basically like, sir, you know, and of course Hunter's like, you got it? And he's basically like, yeah. And he's also like, your wife is here. So he's like, I don't care. I guess he really didn't realize that he was meaning that she's literally there about to walk in the damn door. So when he's walking in, she walks in right behind him. And she's like, God, what? You know, what are you bringing him? You got drugs for him again? This, that, and the third. So he's like keeping on saying, no, he don't. And she was like, then what do you have? What did he mean by, do you got it or not? You know, of course, freaking Hunter's telling him to stay and telling her to go or whatever, right? And then she's like, no, or whatever the case may be, you know, tell me what you got, don't lie to me. And he's stuttering and stumbling and looking at Hunter to see whether, you know, it's okay and what he should say. And Hunter's shaking his head no. So then Hunter tells him to step out. And he's like, what is it, Victoria? What the hell do you want? Because, you know, he's telling him to go and she's telling him to stay. So, of course, he looking all confused. And then when Hunter's like, you know, I'm the president of the United States, he basically go ahead and run out the door. So he asking Victoria, what the hell do she want? Now, I was still kind of confused with this part. I guess maybe they just, you know, had to make it dramatic and play along, because I'm pretty sure that her and Donald told him, you know, yeah, play along, act like you down with him. When he tells you to go get drugs, go get them for him or whatever the case may be. But Alonso was supposed to keep coming back and letting them know and telling them when that happens, right? And so I didn't really understand her questioning him that way, but I was like, maybe that's supposed to be a part of playing along, with the game. So when he does get out, he's like, what the hell do you want? What's going on? What is your purpose? Why are you bothering me? Why are you coming in here and disturbing my life? She's still asking him, so he's getting drugs for you, and he's just like, get to the point, what do you want? So she's like, well, they found him. Hunter dumbass talking about who? She was like, your son, you damn dummy. Okay, who the hell you think I'm talking about? He was like, oh, you back with that bull again? She's like, it's not bull. It's serious. I just wanted to let you know. And he was like, well, you never lost him, Victoria. So she was like, what do you want to do or whatever case may be? You could believe me or you cannot believe me. What do I have to do to make you believe me? He said, man, you have to die. Okay, maybe if you killed yourself, then I would believe you. And I can incinerate both of y'all and put both of y'all ashes together and have a funeral all in one. I said, child, only Hunter, okay? So, of course, she is over it. She's basically like, there's no point in talking to you. She was like, Hunter, look, I'm trying to tell you something. I'm trying to be serious. And she keeps going, no, Hunter. And he's like, I'm going to throw your ass out. She telling him don't touch her, whatever the case may be. So she's just like, oh my God. And she walks out. As soon as she walk out, he's telling them to make sure they keep her out of there and don't let her back in again. And he tells Alonso to come in. So Alonso comes in and he's like, you got the stuff, again. And he's telling him, yeah. He's like, all right, give it to me or whatever, right? And so Alonso takes it out, and just by looking at it, he knows that this is the right stuff for him, okay? The right stuff, baby. So basically, Alonso was taking so long to get it out his pocket. He was saying, you have it, and he's like, yeah, it's right here, sir. And he all going slow and stuff. It's coming, sir. And so Hunter's like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And he just been like, like how a kid would do. So then he gets in and he like, good job. Now we talking. And he's like, all right, get out of here. So he was like, but we going out later. All right. So don't go too far. And then Alonso over here talking about some, all right, sir, enjoy yourself. And so he was telling him to guard the, door, like, with his life. So now when he get it, he's spreading it out all over the table, child, and sniffing it up. Okay, like he's snuffleupagus, right? And he talking about some, oh yeah, that's it right there. This is that stuff right here, okay? Woohoo! And putting his head back. So I said, child, as freaking Hunt's about to OD on these damn drugs, I really wouldn't care, but I just want to know, like, did Alonso actually give him the right stuff that Alan wanted him to? That is the question. And so, meanwhile, Donald left a mad long time ago. So I need to know, did Donald make some stops along the way? Was he picking up any food? I don't think so, because his hands was damn empty. If you left all that long time ago that you were supposed to have, left, you should have been home already, Donald. But in the meantime, he over here just getting in the damn door. And Lily's on the couch and he want to tell her how pretty she look. And she's just like sitting there. Take her a couple minutes, but she's like, thank you. And he was like, oh, do you want to know how my day went? Mind you, he looking like he's still supposedly in pain from the gunshot. And of course Lily been acting like she was half dead from hers. So he's just basically like, she's like, no, I really don't care how your damn day was. So he's like, all right, that's fair enough or whatever. So she's asking him, why did he do what he did to the cop, the officer, whatever? He was just a nice guy that was trying to help. And he was like, well, how do you know that I did anything to him? She was like, oh, just me knowing you and the type of person that you are, you're a real prick and all of this. And he's like, yeah, you're right about that. Baby, you know how they gotta have their banter back and forth or whatever, right? But he's like, no, seriously, how did you know? Did he call you? And she's like, maybe he did, right? And so I'm like, Lily, you just always want to start saying something, acting like you helping the situation, and half the time you just be making it worse, girl, all right? I'll be trying to be on your side, but sometimes it just be like, make it make sense, right? Because, of course, if you bring it up and say that you know what he did, he gonna know y'all been in contact with each other. But nonetheless, at this point, I guess she don't care. She over it. She tired, whatever. And so, he's sitting there with the googly eyes with her, whatever the case may be. And he's like, oh, she was like, he says, well, I like hearing about you, I'm saying, with these men, because she was saying she probably could have some different men that's lined up, and a few of them that's calling her. And he said, well, where's Bobby at? He was the one that was calling all before, whatever, right? And he was saying how he could even get him. And she was like, oh, no, that's impossible. So he over here talking about, oh no, it's not impossible. You know what I'm saying? I could show you better than I could tell you. I had him one time before, so I'm sure I could have, you know what I'm saying, him again. And, she basically was like, yeah, well, again, he's asking her, how did you know that I reached out to the officer? And she's like, oh, you a vindictive bitch. That's why. He's like, thank you, baby. You know I tried. She said, well, you should be wearing my shoes. He talking about some, oh, no, baby, I'll wear your shoes when you're not here. I put on your panties and everything and walk around. She said, yeah, that's why you need to just come on out the closet. Don't hide on my account, right? And so, basically he was, basically he starts saying, again, how did you know what happened with the officer? So she was like, I just know, right? And then he was like, did he call you? And she was like, maybe, now we want to play this game. And so he's like, oh, so you gave him your number, and she was like, he was just a nice man that was trying to help me, okay? He talking about it ain't no nice guys in DC, okay? You should already know that. So he was like, all he wanted to do was to screw you, and she starts talking in Spanish or whatever the case may be. So she's like, CC, and he's like, Caliente. So he was like, well, what happened to big old Bobby? Oh, he's around too. So that's when they start basically going back and forth. He was like, yeah, but he's not around you. See how that works? He was like, sometimes I'll be seeing him around the White House and he be flirting with me. So she was like, you're such a bad liar. And he's like, no, I'm telling you, baby, I'm not. I'm really being honest with you on this one. So they just, of course, doing the back and forth with each other, whatever, right? Now, as they're talking, Cal comes knocking at the door and she's like, oh no, not this bitch or whatever. He basically interrupts them. And then Cal is like, can I talk to you for a minute? He like, go ahead, speak. You could talk in front of her. And he's like, no, this is, security stuff that we got to talk right in private is important. And so he says, okay, well, we could go in the garage. And Lily gets up and walks and is basically doing what Alan keeps saying Alan needs to be doing, and she's listening, talking about you little bitch or whatever the case may be. Now in the meantime, the VP got home and his wife is waiting on him. He telling her how pretty she looked. She like, thank you. She was like, and I want to thank you for you coming home and taking time and making me the lunch. He like, you ain't gotta thank me for nothing like that. She's like, I know I don't have to, but I want to. And so she's basically like, I just want you to know that you're appreciated, and I thank, you for all the different things that you do, and that, I really do like that you took the time out. That's not something that you had to do. And so he's like, okay. And he's like, and you want to talk to me about anything else? And she's like what? He was like, like the phone calls you out here making, okay, you got to stop. You don't know what you're getting yourself into and stuff like that, and don't start no mess. And so she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, Victoria told me about your call. Oh, when did she call you? As soon as you hung up from calling her. So, in the meantime, Bobby asking Dan Max, is it okay for him to go? And he's like, yeah, if you want to go as your funeral, go ahead. You know what I'm saying? So he leaving to go so-called meet Priscilla. I guess he still ain't call her and find out that she ain't going to be able to meet him because she dealing with Nancy running up and down the damn stairs, okay? And so, of course, VP was saying he had a long day and she was saying she could tell. And he was like, how can you tell? She was like, come on, I've been with you a long time and I know and I can see, you know what I'm saying, when you're tired and stuff like that. So she's telling him to get ready to come on and eat this dinner or whatever, but he's like, no, I want to get this across to you and let you know that you can't keep coming at her like that. And she was like, no, what she has to know is that I'm on to her and I'm, what I'm saying, up on her games and her tricks or whatever. I see that she trying to come after you and trying to get you to have sex with her. I said, girl, you too little too late on that one, all right? Little do you know. I thought you was smarter than that, Miss VP wife, okay? And so he's telling her, baby, don't worry about it. Why are you letting something like that threaten you, and you don't need to be aggravating the situation. And she's basically like, I'm not threatened. I'm just trying to let her know that I ain't about to sit here and play those games with her. She was like, see, you too nice and naive and you don't realize when people are flirting with you. So he's like, well, I guess I don't, you know what I'm saying, realize it or don't know because I don't see what the heck you're seeing. He was like, enlighten me. And so basically she's telling him like, oh, she's trying to get at you. She was like, while she playing hopscotch, I'm playing chess. And he's like, this is a game. And she was like, no, she's just trying to get your guard down though. And you're not paying attention to it and stuff like that. You just don't notice when women are coming at you. I said, really, girl? he noticed, okay? Trust me, he noticed. So, he's basically telling her she don't have to worry about it, leave it alone. And at this point, she's like, look, dinner's ready. We gonna go ahead and eat. I don't want to talk about Vicky no more. I'm gonna handle her my way, and that's it. Just trust me on this, please. And he was like, still trying to tell her that she can't have me. She was like, I know that. He was like, so then you should leave it alone. She talking about some, no, I'm not worried about anything, but we gonna set some boundaries around here, and she gonna know what's what. So he's like, boundaries, and she's like, yes, she needs them. So she said, that's it with this conversation. Let's go eat. So for right now, anyway, even though he kept telling her to drop it, she's basically like, that's it. I cannot be as open as you could be. And he was like, well, you could if you tried, with that dumb look on his freaking face. And she was like, anyway, I'm meeting with her and it will be fine. So he's like, shit. So she said, come on, what I'm saying? I can't change your, he said, I can't change your mind, can you? And she said, no, let's go have dinner. So that was that with that. I said, baby girl, I don't know if she just playing dumb with the part and the role that he have in, because she overheard the daggone phone call, what I'm saying? So we shall see. But anyway, moving on from that, we basically, had, who was it? We had them in the garage talking or whatever. He's putting him up to speed what happened with Jason. And then he's like, what I'm saying? I need you to go ahead and get rid of him and take him out. So then Cal is walking back up to him and he's like, what? And he's all, and he was like, what are you doing? He was like, come here. He was like, what are you doing? Like Donna was saying, what is he doing to Cal? Because Cal over here acting like he want to pull him in for a kiss. So he was like, well, you turn me on, okay, when you start talking about killing people and taking them out. And he was like, so do me a favor. Donald says back to him, do me a favor and go get the kill, okay, and then you would turn me on. And so Cal is basically like, yes, sir. And he goes walking off, right? And Donald's just sitting there looking crazy frustrated. And of course, the whole time Lily was standing there listening at the door. Then her phone started buzzing and she go over and answer it. And the guy Brian calling talking about, hello, yo, I gotta talk to you. They took my pension too. So she's like, who is this? He was like, Officer Hella, as if she was supposed to know it was him. He was like, I just found out my pension is going. So she's like, what? I'm sorry. He's like, yeah, he's doing all of this. She was like, I'm so sorry. I don't know what to tell you. He was like, can I talk to him? She was like, no, Brian, you really don't want to do that. So he's like, look, I have to talk to him. He was like, what about the other guy that was with him? Wasn't his name Cal or something like that? She was like, please, you got to leave these people alone. He was like, they taking everything. How can I? So she was like, again, I'm sorry, but there's nothing I could do. She was like, I really got to go. He was like, wait, is he there? So I'm like, how was you just asking for him? And then like, is he there? So she's like, you don't want to do that. He talking about some, he on his way over there to the house. She says, listen, that would be a big mistake. And he was like, look, they ruined me. They took everything from me. She was like, again, I'm sorry, okay, but I have to go. Bye. And she hangs up the damn phone. I said, we was trying to warn you. He over here talking about Lily, Lily, Lily. So when Donald walk in, he talking about some, what's going on here? Looking at her, looking at the phone, looking at her, looking at the phone. And he was like, was that another boyfriend calling you? So she again is like, maybe, and he was like, oh, is he about to come over or something? She was like, I hope not. Okay, little do he know what she talking about or whatever. So he was like, oh, I wish he would. I would love it if one of them would come or whatever the case may be, right? I would have something for them. I really wanted to see him and all of that. So she's like, of course, Donald, you would like to see any man. So he was like, ooh, baby, you have no idea. So basically, they both giving each other these stupid freaking grins. And she's like, Donald is all going to catch up to you. And he like, oh, no, baby, ain't nothing going to catch up to me. What exactly do you think is going to catch up to me? Okay, what is, baby? And so she was like, all the evil that you have done. She gets up and basically comes over closer to his face and was basically saying all of this, all these deeds that you have done. And she whispers in his ear that, whenever there's a devil, there's always a bigger one, because he was saying he looking forward to it. And she was like, are you sure about that? And he was like, hell to the year. So when she whispers in his ear that there's always a bigger one, he talking about he's the biggest one ever. Okay, this is as big as it get is him. I said, Donald, if you don't get the heck up out our face, child. And so, she's like, yeah, okay, if you say so, what I'm saying? Whatever you say, we gonna roll with it, rock with it, and pretend that that's the facts. And so, he's talking about the devil don't get no bigger than me. And so she basically just was like, okay, all right, if that's what you say. And so she was like, we'll see, we'll see. Okay. So then he basically was just looking her up and down or whatever. Now, we still had Sharon in this damn house fighting for her life. And of course, when, his cousin come knocking at the door, Antonio knocking at the door saying, Barry, you need to get your ass to work. What are you doing? You know what today is or whatever. Why you still at the house? He's like, go away. I'm about to leave now. He telling him to open the door, and he's saying no. Sharon tried to scream for help, but I said, girl, you might get killed even faster if Tone found out that you know what's going on. So you better shut the hell up. They over here struggling, and he telling him just leave, and Tone is telling him, you're lying to me. He's still telling him to open the door, and he's like, I heard you. I'm about to leave now. Just go ahead where you going or whatever, right? And Tone is telling him it's getting late, and he just keeps saying, I heard you. So in the meantime, he's trying to get Sharon to be quiet and stay quiet. He's like, hush up, I'm not going to hurt you or whatever, right? And he's telling her, I'm sorry, just stop for a second. So she keeps saying, why can't we just go to the police? Why can't we just go to the police? He's like, because they not going to believe me. I'm a black man in America. They not going to listen to that. That's why. She keeps saying, just let me go. And he's like, well, promise me that you're not going to go to the police first. So she says she promised she's not going to the police. And she was like, why can't you just tell him? Like, what are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? She was like, I'm worried about, Kareem or whatever. I mean, sorry, Barry. And so he's like, well, Barry is dead. And she starts crying again. And she's like, yeah, no, she says something happened to Barry. And he was like, I know something happened. He's dead. So she starts crying again. So he was like, I saw him. He's dead. So she's basically like, we need to do something. We need to go somewhere. We need to get help. Like, he's in here dead. So he's like, no, he's not here no more. He starts talking about we moved him. I mean, I moved him. I mean, we moved him. I mean, I moved him. She's saying we. Who's we? What the hell do you mean we? No, I didn't mean to say we. I meant to say I. You gotta trust me and all of this. And she's like, but you didn't say we. You said I. Or, I mean, you didn't say I. You said we. And then she's telling him that she do trust him. And she's like, well, come on. You know what I'm saying? We need to go and let somebody know what is going on or whatever the case may be. We can't just leave him there. And so once he starts saying that he's been moved or whatever and saying the we are, she's like, what the hell is going on? What did you do? What is happening, right? And so, of course, he's still just giving her this damn stupid look. And he's like, Sharon, you know that we cannot do that. And you know that they're not going to want to listen to me and they're not going to want to believe me. And so at this point, she was like, you have a dead body in your apartment. And he's like, no, I don't. You know what I'm saying? We already moved it. And so, of course, now, that gets her riled up again because for a minute they both was calm and he was saying, they was talking and he's like, oh, he's not there. She was like, what do you mean he's not there? Where is he? She was like, where did you take Barry? And so he, 1 minute he's saying we, 1 minute he's saying Kareem can't keep his story together, child. So at the rate he going, yeah, Kareem, you was stupid because you should have never touched it or moved it or anything. So they not going to believe you. You didn't give them no reason to believe you. Maybe if you would have called them when you first came home and found him, maybe you would have had a chance. You just made the situation worse. But that's another story. So he over here talking about Sharon, please, Sharon, baby, please. And she starts screaming again, get off me, get off me. So they fighting and tussling, knocking all the stuff down off the table. She getting close by the door, they tussling. I said, listen, either she got to kill him or he got to kill her because he was not about to let her out this house. So when they got by the doorway, I'm seeing that steel bat, iron bat, whatever it was. I said, Sharon, beat his ass, okay? Whoop that trick, beat him so you can't beat him no more because he's not letting you up out of there. And she listened to me and grabbed that bat, baby, and took one good swing and knocked his ass out. Now, I would have probably kept swinging, but she just did one, and he was knocked out on the floor. So do y'all think that she killed him, or do y'all think she knocked out? Because when we see the next scenes, it looked like she calling Dale for help, and she crying, and she looking all shocked at what she did. But she didn't have no choice. If she wouldn't have got him, because even when he had her and was choking her on the floor, child, I thought he was about to choke the life out of her, and Sharon wasn't going to them. But anyway, y'all, that is the Oval. Put it in the comments. Let me know what y'all thought about this episode. Do y'all think Dale is damned? I mean, child. Do y'all think Kareem is dead or not? Put it in the comments. Let's discuss it down there. If I left anything out, let's talk about it down there as well. Like, comment, share, subscribe if you were so inclined. Give me a wave. Let me know you came by. Put some flames up in the sky. Till next time, y'all. Toodaloo.